In 1861, the United States of America split in two. Brothers raised guns against brothers. 600,000 men would die before it was over. Welcome to Age of Stories. Today we tell the full, true story of the American Civil War, the bloodiest conflict ever fought on American soil. By 1860, America had a problem that had been growing for 200 years. In the South, nearly 4 million black people were enslaved and forced to work without pay. Southern states had built their entire economy on slavery. Cotton, tobacco, and sugar made Southern landowners extraordinarily wealthy, and all of it depended on enslaved human labor. In the Northern states, slavery had been abolished. Northern politicians increasingly wanted to stop the spread of slavery into new Western territories being added to the United States. In November 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected president. Lincoln opposed expanding slavery. Southern states immediately declared this election meant their way of life was under direct threat. South Carolina left the Union in December 1860. By February 1861, 6 more Southern states had followed. They formed a new country called the Confederate States of America. On April 12, 1861, Confederate forces opened fire on Fort Sumter, a Union military fort in South Carolina. The first shots of the American Civil War had been fired. Lincoln called for 75,000 volunteer soldiers to put down the rebellion. 4 more Southern states immediately left the Union rather than fight against their fellow Southern states. Both sides believed the war would be short. Northern families packed picnic lunches and rode out to watch the first major battle at Bull Run in July 1861. At Bull Run, the Union Army was completely defeated and ran from the battlefield in panic. Civilians fled with them. The war was not going to be short after all. The war settled into 2 main fronts. In the east, Union and Confederate armies fought back and forth across Virginia. In the west, Union forces pushed south along major rivers. General Ulysses S. Grant rose to prominence in the Western theater. In February 1862, his forces captured Fort Donelson in Tennessee and took 12,000 Confederate prisoners in a single battle. In the east, Confederate General Robert E. Lee repeatedly defeated Union armies that vastly outnumbered his forces. Lee became the most feared military commander in the entire conflict. The Battle of Antietam on September 17, 1862, was the single bloodiest day in American military history. Over 22,000 men were killed or wounded in one single day of fighting. Lincoln used the Union's technical victory at Antietam to issue the Emancipation Proclamation in January 1863, declaring all enslaved people in Confederate states legally free. The Emancipation Proclamation changed the meaning of the war. Now the Union was explicitly fighting to end slavery. This also prevented Britain and France from supporting the Confederacy. In 1863, 2 events happened that effectively decided the outcome of the war. The Union won at Gettysburg in Pennsylvania and captured Vicksburg in Mississippi on the same day. Gettysburg was the bloodiest battle of the entire war. Over 50,000 men were killed or wounded in 3 days of fighting. Lee's army never fully recovered from the losses it suffered. President Lincoln gave the Gettysburg Address at the dedication of the Gettysburg Cemetery. In 272 words, he redefined what America itself was supposed to mean as a nation. In 1864, Grant was made commander of all Union armies. He pursued a strategy of relentless pressure on Lee, attacking again and again, regardless of losses, until the Confederacy broke. The fighting in 1864 was brutal beyond anything that had come before. At Cold Harbor, 7,000 Union soldiers were killed or wounded in a single hour of fighting. General William Sherman captured Atlanta in September 1864.
then marched his army 300 miles to the sea, destroying everything of military and economic value along his path. Lincoln was re-elected in November 1864. His victory ended any hope the Confederacy had that America might elect a peace candidate who would negotiate an end to the war. By early 1865, the Confederate Army was starving and deserting by the thousands. Lee's once powerful Army of Northern Virginia was being stretched beyond the breaking point around Petersburg. On April 2, 1865, Lee's lines broke. Confederate President Jefferson Davis fled. Lee retreated west with the remains of his army, trying to reach Confederate forces further south. On April 9, 1865, Lee surrendered to Grant at Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia. The bloodiest war in American history was effectively over after 4 years and 600,000 deaths. 5 days after the surrender, President Lincoln was shot at Ford's Theater in Washington by Confederate sympathizer John Wilkes Booth. Lincoln died the following morning without regaining consciousness. The Civil War freed 4 million enslaved people, but Reconstruction that followed was incomplete. Within a decade, Southern states had imposed new laws that stripped Black Americans of their rights again. The American Civil War shaped everything America became. The wounds it left have still not fully healed. Subscribe to Age of Stories for more incredible hidden history you were never taught.